many advanced items, and they still made it. And that the point about maximum population is limited. There are such things as migrations, and to reduce population into less heavily populated areas. When they do not get rid of overpopulation, can be problematic. People to stability, we are going to there. And the government failed to mention how calling is saving society. If the resource factor, my previous point still stands on farm work, and that nature is not a limited resource. That is all for me. Thank you.
The first speaker from opposition team has spent 5 minutes 17 seconds to deliver her speech. To hear the response from the government team, let's call the second speaker, Nanda Khairun Nisa. Time is yours.
Hello, am I audible?
Yes.
Me. Thank you.
Okay, I'll start my speech. Oh yeah, let me set my timer first.
The first speaker from opposition team has spent 5 minutes 17 seconds to deliver her speech.
Okay, I'll start my speech in 3.
To hear the response from the government team, let's call the second speaker, Nanda Khairun Nisa. Time is yours.
Limited area. We play in the world of a non-expanding state. This is the one thing that that really like of the opposition side of the house is that they didn't even engage on our motion.
Hello, am I audible?
Playing under the world of a non-expanding state.
Yes.
What is
Me. Thank you.
Okay, I'll start my speech. Oh yeah, let me set my timer first.
The first speaker from opposition team has spent 5
Meaning that you
speaker from opposition team has spent 5 minutes 17 seconds to deliver her speech.
I'll start my speech in 3.
To hear the response from
Expanded. The opposition side of the house said as if our burden right now that is that we have a limited human resources instead of we have limited resources, which it is a false argument. Okay, now let's moving on to my several responses. They say that reducing the population is not a solution. Is not a solution, but notice here that they never give us a proper mechanism about how they gonna about how they will about how they can control their population and how they wouldn't have a limited resources because of the lack of self population of self population. Okay, they say that elderly is not someone who can do anything, but from my very first PM has already told you that what we mean by the elderly is that the one who already cannot contributing anymore in the society and now is for example in their deathbed and something like that. They say that the elderly is the one elderly can told the younger generations to be good at education, to care about your health, but no, this is not our main problem. Our main problem is how we can maintain our sustainability in the country while we are living under while we are living under non-expanding city areas. Okay, they never told us about their justification why under their side of the house it's okay to let a bigger amount of people's life in an endangered situation because they didn't do anything to maintain the sustainability of the country itself. Okay, even if they will say that they will maintain the sustainability in other way, it can be credited because of what? Because the mechanism should have been explained by the first speaker, which we get there are none of it aside from they said that the elderly can be a lecturer to the younger ones and etc. etc. Their side of the house, it's okay to let a bigger amount of people's life in an endangered situation because they didn't do anything to maintain the sustainability of the country itself. Okay, even if they will say that they will maintain the sustainability in other way, it can be credited because of what? Because the mechanisms have been explained by the first speaker, which we get there are none of it aside from they said that oh the elderly can be a lecturer to the younger ones and etc etc. Their side of the house, it's okay to let a bigger amount of people's life in an endangered situation because they didn't do anything to maintain the sustainability of the country itself. Okay, even if they will say that they will maintain the sustainability in other way, it can be credited because of what? Because the mechanisms have been explained by the first speaker, which we get there are none of it aside from they said that oh the elderly can be a lecturer to the younger ones and etc etc. Their side of the house, it's okay to let a bigger amount of people's life in an endangered situation because the country itself will lose their human resources that actually can benefit you. You will lose people who could make your country even more developed in some aspects like economic, education, or even the infrastructure. Because who knows, some of them may be a talented engineer or even an innovative lecturer. So at the end of the day, all your population will suffer, and there won't be any prosperity under your side of the house, and it'll only lead to the deterioration of the city-state itself. But most important of all, it is justified to do this as what my PM had explained to you because we don't call random people, but we selectively call people who are no longer contributing or even harming to the society. Side opposition can be justified because only to keep just a few people's life, they are putting the bigger amount of people's life in an endangered situation where they didn't do anything to maintain the sustainability of the non-expanding city areas. On their side of the house, they can maintain the population. Why? Because those who can function in the society will be harmed because of the cost of the limited resources that is even will extinct because of the overpopulation on their side of the house, which this will lead their population to not be maintained anymore. My PM told you the interest of the population is to maintain themselves, right? So therefore, this is unjustified because only to keep just a few people's life, they are putting the bigger amount of people's life in an endangered situation where they didn't do anything to maintain the sustainability of the non-expanding city areas. On their side of the house, they can maintain the population. Why? Because those who can function in the society will be harmed because of the cost of the limited resources that is even will extinct because of the overpopulation on their side of the house, which this will lead their population to not be maintained anymore. My PM told you the interest of the population is to maintain themselves, right? So therefore, this is unjustified because only to keep just a few people's life, they are putting the bigger amount of people's life in an endangered situation where they didn't do anything to maintain the sustainability of the non-expanding city areas. On their side of the house, they can maintain the population. Why? Because those who can function in the society will be harmed because of the cost of the limited resources that is even will extinct because of the overpopulation on their side of the house, which this will lead their population to not be maintained anymore. My PM told you the interest of the population is to maintain themselves, right? So
Thank you. Let me start my speech in 3, 2, 1. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Patricia Unesa, and I am from the opposition team
as the second speaker. Today's motion is about this House prefer a world where humans live in exclusive, non-expanding city-states, where the norm is that society would rather selectively cull their own population to maintain sustainability, and why we reject this motion. Now, before I get to my arguments, let me rebut some of the government's team. First, they say sacrificing the elderly that can't contribute to the society because they're harming the people who actually contribute. Why are they harming? Is it because this non-expanding city-states don't have enough resources? No, it's not empathetic and immoral. Because how easy is just to take people's life because they're useless. They're just wasting our resources, that leftover resources. They're just using it. Actually take some parts that contributes people who actually need it and could actually contributes a lot to the country, to this place, to this non-expanding place. Now, if you said because you don't have enough resources, this non-expanding city don't have enough resources, then this should be a reminder for the government. Why? There are many ways to solve this problem. First, for example, import and export. One of the benefits to do import and export is import and export system is to fulfill some resources that this country don't have. If you can do this system, you don't need to sacrifice people's life just like that. Because sacrificing people's life, it does. So you mean that this life is just useless? Is it that easy to take people's life? And next is to the criminals. Yes, you said it's a payback to the criminals who have done bad. And there are actually many levels of criminals, and the government team failed to explain about that. For example, the low levels criminal for the youngsters. They actually have a bad knowledge, bad family background, and they just have no issue, nowhere to go. So they're unintentionally do such things like the low offenders thing to do, the low offenders crimes. And just because of this, like, for example, you're just stealing this such things, and you just put them, okay, just, take his life, take your life. They're just not contributing. This is ruining this country, this place, this city. It's not that easy. Even a law needs to think twice to give certain punishment to these criminals. It's just unequally for the low offenders, criminals. And this brings me to my arguments. My first argument is any population control system reduces the worth of human life, and this is immoral. Just like the first I said, humans cannot easily call other humans' life, because that humans, this certain group that you said, is not contributing to the world anymore. Like, we don't have enough resources. They're just taking these resources that actually these resources for the people actually contributes, the people actually that we need that could help this country. So that if that people who contributes this country would actually manage to control this issue, manage to find a solution for this issue. It's not just easily taking people's life. And for the elderlies, if you sacrifice this uncontributing people is harming. That's what you said. We sacrifice the elderlies who actually cannot contribute to the society anymore, because it's harming, it's disturbing the people who actually contributes. And it is not important. It does not make sense. Humans' life was just that easy. Protecting the youngsters, because you want to maintain the sustainability. Hence why you have to focus about the youngsters, people who actually contribute, must give them credits. So we don't have to think much about people who cannot contribute anymore. We don't need them. Is that easy? Humans' life was that easy for you to take their lives? And this brings me to my second argument, that selectively culling humans' population is not important. Other than it's unempathetic, it's not important. We don't cull the elderly just because they're unactively contributing to the society. We do not cull we manage. For a country that not expanding and like they're not expanding not enough resources, the government could take a program. For example, every family would only allow to have one child or two children. You can easily manage like that. You don't have to take these other people's life just to maintain the sustainability. What they can actually harm you with that? There's no harming from this, and people who actually can contribute, people actually you said smart, they could actually they should find a way out. They can find a way out. You don't have to just take people's life like that. Imagine for the elderly who cannot contribute anymore. In the past, they contribute to that country. How would they feel about that? And then they have contributed a lot to this country. And then in the end, their life is just taken because you're not contributing anymore. Thank you for your help in the past, but we don't need you now. It's similar like that. Hence I said that cooling people's lives, sacrificing people's lives, elderly, the criminals, for the sick people, it's immoral, it's not worth it, it's not important. Hence why I propose. Thank you.
The second speaker of the opposition team has spent 6 minutes 36 seconds to deliver her speech. To hear the response from government team, let's call the third speaker, Nayara Damaris Khairunisa. Ms. Nayara, time is yours.
Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Right. Give me time to set my timer. Right. Okay, I preference just unmute yourself. Gender pronoun she, her. Starting my speech in 3, 2, 1. It is funny how sad opposition said they want to protect the youngsters, but not giving the actually access for these youngsters to actually get the daily needs that they have with the overpopulated non-expanding cities that side opposition gives to us, right? We say that under side opposition, they actually fail to engage on what the non-expanding areas is in the very first place, right? And I'm going to tell you why is that so, right? 2 areas I'm going to bring why under our side was still justified, but then secondly, who give more long-term benefits, right? Moving to the first thing, why under our side was still justified. They say that when you have a large, on their first speaker, they say that, when you have a large population, it means that you have big economic profits. First, that is not true, right? My new opposition that we are debating about a non-expanding state and a non-expanding area, right? When there will be more population, then there will be more demands under that area, right? Which cannot provided by the limited resource that this limited area because this is a non-expanding area in the very first place, right? This leads side opposition to a downhill of economics because the demands are higher, but the capital that this area provided are less likely to be granted because this is limited in the very first place, right? Under opposition side, youngsters are actually not going to actually get what they need to survive, right? But then secondly, they say that why elderly have to be like sacrificed? Because why even they are not contributing? But they say that this elderly also contribute to the population in their past. notice that panels, even if we already preempt this under my first speaker speech, right? But I'm going to like actually strengthen it back, right? Even if they also contribute the population in their past, this is still justified. Why? Because this is also contributing for your population, right? Sacrificing for saving your population sustainability is actually counted as contributing to keep your population safe, to keep your population maintain it in that non-expanding area, right? Their past contribution is of course to keep this population maintained. So does their final contribution, right? If their interest is to save their population with the contribution they do in the past, then it is okay for them to actually sacrifice themselves in their elder age, because that is the most likely that they can do at that age. Like, you don't actually force old people to go and like serve the government even if they're in their deathbed, for example, right? You cannot push them. So this is the most likely that they can do, the alternatives they can do to actually contribute to their population as a functioning society, right? Under your side, this will not happen because that's what I'm going to, because you not prefer this word, right? But then thirdly, they say that, oh, the government have to be smart if you want to keep these people alive, because, the government can actually do export or import, right? Firstly, for you to do export and import, you need to be a expanding area so that the capital of you exporting and importing will keep actually growing. But then thirdly, it's not important whether you export or importing, guys, because this is a non-expanding area, right? The more people in it, even you export more, the more people in it, even you export more food, even you import more food, the land area to build houses are not going to be achieved under sites opposition, which leads to other problematic problems that going to be happening under opposition side of the house, because no one is dying or no one is sacrificing themselves to actually save this population that near the extinction that side opposition gave the alternative to us, right? But then thirdly, they said that, oh, the government could use program like Keluarga Bercanda, for example. This is ineffective. This is not effective anyway, right? Why? Even if you use like Keluarga Berencana, if this area, if this extending area is overpopulated, then it is still overpopulated. The demands of the the daily needs are going still be higher under your side of the house, and you cannot solve this under your side of the house, right? We already give you urgency for this justification, right? Because we live in a non-expanding city, we have a limited population, we have a limited area, so that these people are justified to actually sacrificing themselves as a contribution to save their population from extinction, right? Because extinction because of course the interest of this population to actually keep their population maintained in the very first place, right? And because we know that this interest, then this is still justified, because this is the only way to justify, right? But then thirdly, notice the side opposition, the one that we sacrifice are elderly, criminals with several sentences, or even sickly. This is the type of, we already give you characteristic, but side opposition choose to actually ignore this in the very first place, right? We are actually sacrificing people who no longer or even harming the society. This is the type of society that is dangerous or even no longer contribution, because we are living in we are living on a non-expanding area, right? Which means we don't actually need this stuff to actually keep maintaining our population. The trade-off that we actually want to prove to you, that we actually going to trade lives that actually are not going to contribute again to the society for the survivability under our youngsters, about the newborns and our new generations that are going to save this population from extinction. This is what we actually going to do in the very first place, right? Because this is also contributed to my second area, which why we have better long-term benefits, right? Under our side, we gave more sustainability with this population, rather than on the side opposition who gave reckless decision, who gave questionable economic benefits that not going to do under your side because of your not justified reasons on why they should export or import or even do Keluarga Berencana, for example, right? Under our side, we give you more sustainability. Why? Because we maintain the normal maximum amount of the population in the non-expanding society, in the non-expanding area, right? especially when we are sacrificing those who are no longer and even harming the society inside that little amount, inside that little limited area, right? Because that area is vulnerable, like my first speaker already said to you. That is why we have to do, we have to save the population with whatever we can do, right? And this is the actually the effectivity that this my first speaker solution gave to you, right? Because throwing them out was like going to be sign of betrayal, like my first speaker told you on the second speech, right? Therefore, side opposition gave us a questionable alternative. Therefore, so proud to propose.
The third speaker of the government team has spent 7 minutes 32 seconds to deliver her speech. To hear the response from opposition team, let's call the
do,
third
right?
speaker.
And this is the actually the effectivity that this my first speaker solution gave to you, right? Because throwing them
time is yours.
Am I audible?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, thank you. So, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I am Latrivana Jaan, acting as the third speaker of the opposition side. I wanna respond first what the government tell before the previous the third speaker of the government side. Actually, my second speaker mentioned that some elderly who actually contributes in the past, not all elderly contributes in their past. The government team gave the wrong point about that. And second, we don't say the government must to be smart to control this issue. In fact, the government, this is the government responsibility to manage this overpopulation without sacrificing them, to find a solution for their research. And government mentioned that there are people who actually contribute and benefits a lot of for this country. So they must have be capable enough to manage this issue to find a way out instead of killing. In this case, we believe that to sacrifice them is not the best way, the best solution. The best solution for the government to maintaining the sustainability, but we can keep them. I mean, here we believe here if you say the elderly people, sick people, and criminal offenders harm the society and. Yes, what? Yes, please.
Yeah. When you even if you say that, or your side stated that not all of the elderly but some of the elderly, it does not important. Sacrificing yourself for your population is still counted as a contribution which you have to do in that non-expanding area to be a functioning society.
Order.
Okay. And let me continue my speech and you guys talked about the government side talked about all the price higher and the people harder to get their fulfill their wait okay, I'm sorry. And the result is that what if the increase in labor force and large population is increased incomes, savings, and investments. And like what my first speaker said before, we don't have to sacrifice them because we know even there's a lot of population. It doesn't mean the elder people and sick people harm the society, right? We can keeping them and protect them without we don't have to sacrificing them. Why we have to sacrificing them? Like even they're not have a longer contribute to the country and the cities where they live, but we believe that the elderly don't harm the society. Like what the government said before, we believe that the elderly also can contribute at all. Like they also can help us. Well, even not doing some professionalism or doing some jobs, but they also can contribute. We believe that the older people also can help us, and like my PM said before, they told us the young generation how to manage the country better and and you know like my second speaker told before that if you sacrifice people, it's immoral, and guys, the people have human value life. Like we have to respect each other, even what the government mean before, but this thing is not artist and it's immoral because we have to respect and have to care about them. It doesn't mean when you sacrifice them you make the country be better, because it's non-expanding city, right?
You are.
No, thank you. And the young generation who lead the country is also need the moral lesson. And you said that the government said that yes, the non-expanding city is do not have enough resources and limited resources. Yes, it is. That's why they need the older people to teach them how to manage and control, to manage the country. And this is really important, like what my second speaker told before, because why we have to sacrifice them, like the youngster affected too, because they just imagine once they got older and not capable to contribute anymore, that they will be sacrificed just so for a country where government actually can find another way out without sacrificing people. And we know that young generation also can be older and they also get sacrificing. It's been the cycle is just repeated, and I think this house this house rejected the idea that why we have to selectively sacrificing them. Okay, thank you. That's all for my argument.
The third speaker of the opposition team has spent 6 minutes 55 seconds to deliver her speech. To close the debate, let's call the replay speaker from opposition team, Ms. Alia Fani. Time is yours.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am here acting as the reply speaker for the opposition team. This house do not prefer a world where humans live in non-expanding city-states where the norm is that society would rather selectively cull their own population to maintain sustainability. And we believe that opposite sides should win this debate. The government side simply think of the human life as a resource to dispose when they are no longer contributing to society, while our side of the house believes that even the most uncontributing person deserve the privilege of living up to their old age and greet death as a friend. The government side also mentioned that non-expanding states have limited resources. They fail to notice that in some areas, such as the seaside, have the ocean as a resource. We believe that nature has enough resource We believe that nature has enough resource, such as the way of us and of our ancestors. They also survive without modern influence, which is far from impossible for today. They talk of prices, which is irrelevant to the motion and focuses more on data and what will be affected of the population. The government side needs to give the reasoning of why uncontributing people are useless. That person may be useless in their old age, but to remember of their jobs while younger. That person may be a highly influential person while young, and they just expect to dispose them when they are no longer of use. And what about overpopulation? We give out the solution of migration to less crowded areas, and the subject of uncontributing people are waste of resource to the younger people is correct, but morally and logically flawed. No one would prioritize deathbed people over a child. They will simply give them time to pass on their own, but not prioritizing them over younger people with potentials. Our house believes that sacrificials are very harmful and prefer that the world does not call those that do not meet the perfect standards. We believe that human life is very valuable and should not be wasted on such actions. We have pointed out that the most of the government arguments are morally wrong and such thoughts are very cruel. There are better alternatives and we have explained them thoroughly. And there are more perks of keeping the population as it is than some cruel action of population control. And my conclusion is that our house and the opposite house should win this debate. That is all from me. Thank you.
The replay speaker of the opposition team has spent 2 minutes 41 seconds to deliver her speech. To close the debate, let's call the replay speaker from government team, Ms. Nanda Khairunisa. Time is yours.
Hello, am I audible?
Yep, you are.
Okay, I'll start my speech in 3, 2, 1. The problem since the very first is the limited resources because of the limited area. We play in the world of a non-expanding state. Notice this when I say that we are playing in the world of a non-expanding state, which side opposition never engaged on this motion. Side opposition came into this debate as if we were lacking of human resources and not lacking of the country's resources. They said that you can just educate the youngsters and blah, 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 which is not important because even if you have wonderful human resources but overpopulated community, then these wonderful human resources cannot eat anyway. They were emphasizing about how they will keep these people's life, but no further explanation about their burden of proof. Three big questions under the side of the house that are still there until the very end of the debate. First, how can they maintain the sustainability in the country? Second, why is it justified to sacrifice bigger amounts of people's future instead sacrificing the ones who already not able to contribute or even harming to the society? And the third is how they can handle overpopulation or why it won't happen under their side of the house. Side opposition choose to actually ignore all the justification and never engage or never even rebuted that justification. The only thing that they say is, but why you did this? Isn't it very cruel? Notice that side opposition are being ignorant by the long-term benefits that our side gives. From the very first debate, they never give us a proper alternatives about how even if we live in non-expanding city, the alternatives that they give is only export, import, keluarga berencana, or migration, which come late under their reply speaker. But even if that my first speaker already preempt this when she said that throwing them will be a sign of betrayal. But other than that, alternatives, we already rebutted it under my third speaker speech. They only said alternatives that are counterproductive because it has nothing to do with our burden and the problem. So at the end of the day, the main problem that exists can be handled under the side of the house. Because of what? Because they never play in their worst case. They said they say it is not justified for us to take these people's death by only one-liner rebuttal, but the truth is that they can't even engage on our arguments and cannot explain why is it justified for them to put the bigger amount of people's life in an endangered situation where you didn't do anything to maintain the sustainability. Notice how they are refusing the fact and didn't even intend to play under the worst case about how these harms will happen under the side of the house. Okay, there are three harms that still stand until the very end of the debate. First, under the side of the house, there will be lack of resources in overpopulated city, which it can lead to poverty and hunger. And the third is they will lose the beneficial human resources. Side opposition stance is very questionable. This debate is about the non-expanding area, but side opposition arguments is as if this debate is in the expanding area. They talk us if this population doesn't have limited resources. This is the urgency that our side brought. The problem is that this will lead even functioning people, including youngsters, that they love to talk about suffer because of the poverty, because of the hunger, and the other problems caused by the overpopulation and limited resources. One point before I close my speech. Notice that in their reply, they said that we have enough resources to fulfill people's needs, which it really proves that they didn't even play under this motion that we are living in the non-expanding cities. From this, I'm so proud to propose. Thank you.
The reply speaker of the government team has spent 4 minutes 21 seconds to deliver her speech. That's the end of the debate. I congratulate all the debaters for their performance. Since the debate is now concluded, I invite the debaters to go to the main room to allow the judges to confer. Thank you.
Thank you, Kak. Thank you, Smarit.
Thank you, Smarit. Thank you, PWE.
Thank you, Smansa. Thank you, Smansa. Thank you, Kak.
Thank you, Smansa. Thank you,